Hello and welcome to today's Go Anteater Podcast. Today we have another guest and we're going to go through some more stories that we have in the service industry. So today we have Chad Southall joining us. Thank you for joining us in the podcast today.
I appreciate it.
He is one of our managers that oversees an entire branch for us in the Dallas location. And with that, I just kind of wanted to ask, all the customers, all the services you've done, what's the story that really sticks out in your head?
So the one that really sticks out in my head is a bed bug job I did before I became manager. When I walked up, my manager at the time threw me a Tyvek suit and said, "Have fun." And so I walked in this house, and this poor guy had been living with these bed bugs for years. He was laying on the recliner because that's where he was bedridden to the recliner. But when I walked in, I mean, the bed bugs were crawling on the floor. They looked like ants walking around. And so then I went and looked at the recliner as he was sitting there. And they were just, when I took my hand and I smeared it, it was just a big blood smear, like you just had blood in your hand. It was just going across. So it was really bad. The beige carpet was dark, around. So it was real bad. The funny thing was the guy used to be in pest control.
Oh, man.
And so his girlfriend told me that the reason the bed bugs were so bad was because he was trying to treat them himself from Walmart products. And so, and that 2 or 3 years before that, he found a bed on a curb and he took the bed home, and that's where it all started.
So key word is he used to be in pest control, because those are red flags to us.
Yes. Well, and then he the funny thing was he was telling me how he wanted me to treat the house, which was fun to listen to, So yeah, it was really bad. The city came and took him out of his home, wouldn't let him go back. And I had 1 month, basically is what took me to get rid of the bed bugs. The house was a hoarder house.
Oh, man.
So it took me 2 days just to bag everything up and get it out of the house. And so I went back probably 2, maybe 3 times a week. And I would just flush and vacuum and just trying to remove the bed bugs from the environment, versus, spraying a lot of chemicals at first.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for almost a month. I did that, and I was in contact with his girlfriend and his friend that was in charge. And then I went back about a week, and I didn't see anything, and I thought everything was good to go. And so talked to his friend, and they brought him back home. And 2 days later, I get a call from his nephew and said, yeah, you didn't get rid of the bed bugs. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So I go back over. The guy's laying there. Of course, he's yelling at me because the bed bugs are back. And he's laying there, and sure enough, the bed bugs are there. So I'm looking around because I had taken all the pictures off the wall. I mean, I treated everything. And so I look over, and I see this pinhole where there was a nail hanging, one of the, that was holding the picture up.
Right.
And I saw it, and it was kind of an oversized hole, and I thought, hang on a second. So I took some CB80, and I stuck the hose in there, and then they just come pouring out.
Oh, no.
So the bed bugs were in the walls. So we had to remove him from the house again. And so basically we had to cut big holes in the walls so that we could go around and treat the interior of the walls to get rid of it. Yeah, it was that bad.
This is a major infestation.
Major infestation. Yeah. That was the worst one I've ever seen. Probably a total of 2 months that it took me to finally get rid of all the bed bugs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I've been on a handful of bed bug jobs, but never where I had to cut open drywall and actually treat behind the wall. That's something else.
Yeah, it was bad. So it was definitely an experience. I know next time I think I'd be more prepared for something that infested, I guess you could say, because it was bad. It was bad. I of course, I got pictures and everything of it, and I always use that as an example with my team of taking your time and inspecting everything, because I learned from that one.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you can lift up anything in a house and find something that's going on. Oh,
right.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so do you have another story that kind of jumps to your mind right now?
Absolutely, I do.
Let's keep it going.
So I had one, went out to do a rodent exclusion, small house. And she had probably 10 dogs living inside the house with her.
It's a good sign.
Yeah, it's a really good sign. It smelled like Petco when you walked in, between the rodent smell inside the house and the dog smell. It was pretty bad. So I go up and I inspect the attic, and she had so much poison that, I mean, there were just dead rodents laying all over inside the attic. And then we had, and I've got the picture of this too. There was a dead rodent, and he had a wire in his mouth, and he was chewing it, and it electrocuted him, and he was still laying there with the wire in his mouth. But so I went and I put traps, with her permission. I put traps all inside the house for her, because they were just running everywhere inside the house. And then I went back 3 days later, and I pulled out 10 that we had caught. And so I asked her if I could call her in 2 days to see if, what the status was. And so I called her, and she said, no, I haven't heard anything. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's good, because that's progress, right?
Right.
So I made an appointment to go back with her, to go see her in another week from that time. And I get back, and she said, no, I haven't seen anything. I haven't heard anything. Everything is good. And this will tell you how bad the smell was.
Oh, no.
There were dead rodents that were already decomposing under her kitchen sinks.
Oh.
Yeah. And when I opened the sink, I mean, it would just hit you in the face. But because of the smell from the dogs and everything in the past, it just masked the decomposing smell of the rodents. It was a bunch of them. That one was a really bad home. I don't know what she did. I recommended that she got her house, sanitized and cleaned out. I don't know what she did in the long run. We finally did get rid of them. But that one took me a while.
Oh, yeah.
That one took me a while.
I mean, for them to be decomposing underneath the actual sink,
yeah.
Like, no.
And she had no clue.
Yeah.
So I've got many. We did one house. They were remodeling the house because the mother had passed away. Now the kids were taking the house over. So they were taking everything out of the house. We were there doing the rodent exclusion. And while we were there with the construction workers, we put rodent traps inside wherever we could, and we put them in the pantry, right? By the time we got done with the rodent exclusion, we had caught like 6 rodents on the same trap in the pantry.
Wow.
While construction workers were walking around working. They didn't care. They were out there with us. And so that was a pretty bad one. That one took us a long time to finally get them all out. So.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. For me, the worst that I ever came across, was actually, it's a store, so I'm not going to give their name out here, but
sure.
We walked into a store that has a lot of toys.
Mm-hmm.
I'll leave it at that. And definitely noticed that they hadn't cleaned out any of, their food. They had this one room up in the top, and it literally had all the promotional, candies from, 10 years ago.
Right.
And they were asking us, why do we have rodents?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, do you see this?
Yeah.
This is, in that one, I mean, we were there every other day for probably the best of 2 months to get rid of all their issues there.
Yeah.
That was a real bad one. But it was when you're moving things in that room, you're just lifting boxes of candy, but you're like, oh, there's, 10 rodents walking that way. There's 5 that way. There's 4 this way. Yeah.
Yeah. We're working on one right now. We did the rodent exclusion at a restaurant. I won't say the name. And we did the exclusion about 8 months ago. And I talked to the owner the other day, and he was upset. And so I go out there to look, and I couldn't believe what I saw. And so the technicians did a good job. They've taken pictures, and they've made notes about sanitation issues. So I go there, and sure enough, they have a big party place where you can go out and drink outside and have a good time, but they leave their trash cans full of their old food from the night before out there. And so that was all full. And then I go and I inspect the kitchen, and I don't think they've cleaned under anything in years, because the grease was piled up and the rodent droppings I couldn't believe it. And so there were so many rodent droppings, and I literally told the guy, you got to clean this up. We can't help you if you don't clean this up. So he committed and paid a company to come in and sanitize and clean up, and he did. And so far, let's see, that was 4 days we're out there. We're at 15 rodents caught, because now that all the food's not on the floor, they're going to our traps.
Oh yeah.
So we got about 15 rodents caught, and they're not seeing them climb down while people are in the restaurant, and running across the floor while the people are in the restaurant eating.
Progress.
It's progress.
Progress.
Yeah. It's amazing sometimes that people will let it get so far before they take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes our fault when it takes us a while to, but
Absolutely.
we do the best we can. So,
Oh, yeah.
with what we have.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes they got to get to the drastic measure to then hire someone to come fix
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining today in this podcast.
Sure.
If you guys are listening, following, watching, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Just interact with these so that way we can get more people to hear some of the cool and gross and interesting stories that we have from the service industry. I want to thank you again for joining us
Appreciate
today,
it.
Chad.
Yeah.
We'll have to do it again because
Absolutely.
definitely feel like you got quite a few in there.
I have more stories.
Well, thank you guys for checking us out, and we hope that you have a wonderful rest of the day. Cheers, everyone.
ABC Home and Commercial Services.